Hello, fight fans. This Saturday, the Saturday before the Super Bowl, Superbowl Saturday, ESPN will host their second ever UFC on ESPN Plus card. Now, a lot of you complained there was a lot of headaches in that first card. The very early prelims were on ESPN Plus. Then ESPN moved the main prelims over to ESPN Cable. The main prelims with Donald Cerrone, preventing some people on ESPN Plus from getting to see that fight. Then moving back over to ESPN Plus for the main card. At the time, I speculated possibly that ESPN was doing this to get, some substantial eyeballs on the UFC before the main event goes on to ESPN Plus. Well, I don't know. Every once in a while, old Mikey's right. Maybe I was on this one. I'm Mike of Fights with Friends. If you like what I do here, please hit that like button. If you like fighting, you like breakdowns, and you like live fight companions and enjoy fighting with other people that love fighting, please hit that subscribe button. Well, that's exactly what it was for ESPN. Was a huge success. After the Donald Cerrone fight, 587,000 fans flooded over to ESPN Plus to become new subscribers after Donald Cerrone's impressive victory. To give you an idea of how many that is, that's more people that have signed up for UFC Fight Pass in the history of the app. I don't know what is more impressive about that. The fact that ESPN Plus got so many subscribers, or that UFC Fight Pass has gotten such an abysmal number over that time. But let's get into the fights. I'm going to break down the top 5 fights of the main card. Let's start out with veteran 205er Justin Leddit versus Johnny Walker in just his second fight. Justin Leddit, 4 fights into the UFC. He's 3-1. Started off his career with a debut victory over Chase Sherman by unanimous decision. Followed that up with an impressive submission victory over Mark Godbeard. Then squeaked out a split decision over Zhu Onizhanyu. His last fight, he fought a very tough Alexander Rakic. Lost by decision, but that is no shame. Alexander Rakic is an absolute stud. Now, a lot of people asked me, Mike, who is your dark horse for 2019? Most people didn't see Israel Adesanya coming out. My dark horse for 2019 is Johnny Walker. He's coming off his UFC debut, knocking out Khalil Roundtree. For those of you that don't know, Khalil Roundtree was coming off a first-round knockout of Gokhan Saki. Gokhan Saki is widely regarded as the greatest kickboxer of all time. The most impressive thing about that was Khalil Roundtree knocked him out from standing. Johnny Walker absolutely dominated Roundtree. He got him in a clinch. He used the clinch in a way I have not seen light heavyweights use it in a very long time outside of John Jones. He had destructive power. He's 6'5". He has an 82-inch reach. And I think this guy is a problem in the future for the 205-pound division. I picked Johnny Walker to take out Justin Leddit by knockout in the very first round. Let's get into the second fight here. David Teymur versus Charles Oliveira. We're going to take a look at the odds makers on this one. I have most of the major odds makers brought up here. Charles Oliveira came in about a -140 favorite. Now David Teymur is even or even a slight favorite by 10 at some casinos. That's a pretty large swing of about 30 points. For those of you that don't know how gambling works, how these things work, you would have to put down $120, minus 120. You would have to put down $120 on David Timur to make 100. When the odds came out at plus 111, you would have gotten $111 for putting out $100. So David Timur moved up significantly. A lot of people are confident in him. So let's take a look at him first. Fighting out of Stockholm, Sweden, 29 years old. 5 for 5 in the UFC. Extremely impressive. Came into the UFC with 2 knockouts, both in the second round. Had a fight of the night victory over my good friend Lando Venata that I wasn't very happy with him about, but it was a great fight. Pulled off a victory over tough Nick Lentz recently, 5-0. That's a great start in the UFC. He is facing, no doubt, his toughest opponent up to this point, though. Charles Oliveira, 24-8, 7 performance of the night bonuses, 3 fight of the nights, 3 submissions of the night. You guys know this guy's never going to be in a boring fight. 3 performances of the night just in his last 3 fights, which he's won all by submission over the likes of Clay Guida, Christos Giagos, and Jim Miller. He is also 29 years old, so they're the same age, but he has a few more fight miles on him. You can see he's got a submission victory over Will Brooks, over Miles Jury a few years back ago. He's been in there against the toughest of them, Anthony Pettis, Ricardo Lamas, Max Holloway. He's got a victory over Jeremy Stevens, Hatsu Hayoki. This guy has pretty much seen it all in the octagon. I think David Timur could have a bright future in the UFC. I just don't think he's going to have the tools to deal with Charles Oliveira just yet. I think Charles Oliveira pulls this one off, and I have him submitting David Timur in the 3rd round. Let's move on to Lymangood versus Demian Maia. What do the odds makers say on this one? Demian Maia, of course, has been around for quite some time. Demian Maia opened a minus 190 favorite. Lymangood, the plus 155 underdog. Odds have moved slightly in Good's favor, about 10 to 15 points. Now it's minus 175 for Maia, and you're only going to get about 145 or 150 if you pick the right book by putting $100 down on Lymangood. Why is Lymangood so good? 20-4. He's got a fight of the night bonus in the UFC already. Came into the UFC with a knockout victory over Andrew Craig. His second fight, albeit a loss, was a fight of the night squeaker, split decision against Zaleski dos Santos. After that, he knocked out the durable veteran Ben Saunders in the 1st round. This guy definitely shows a lot of potential. Demian Maia, number 8 ranked welterweight in the world. And some of those odds might be moving because of this. Demian Maia's on a 3-fight losing streak. Lost to the champion, then lost to Colby Covington, then lost to Kamaru Usman. So yes, he's lost 3 in a row, but he's lost to the top 3 welterweights in the world towards the end of his UFC career. Before that, he was coming off of a 7-fight win streak. This guy, of course, he's been around for a while. He's 41 years old. Enjoy this guy while we can, because I believe he may be the last of a dying breed. A guy that came into the UFC with a single skill set and was able to compete with the best fighters in the world and make a deep run at the championship against 2 different champions in 2 different weight classes, for that matter. Tyrone Woodley, and then he fought Anderson Silva. I believe that Demian Maia will pull this out. I'm going to take him by third round submission. I think this is a better fight for him than he's gotten recently. Next on the list, Jose Aldo versus Renato Moicano. And I was wishing that this was the main event, but it must have been a toss-up between the co-main and main event. These both are such great fights. Renato Moicano, 12-1-1. He's got a performance of the night and a fight of the night bonus in the UFC. Already his only loss coming to the tough Brian Ortega, submitted in a fight of the night effort. He's got victories already over Jeremy Stevens, Cub Swanson, and Calvin Kattar. A great start to this guy's career, and he comes into the UFC with a ton of steam. And just to look at how much steam, Jose Aldo came into this fight a minus 124 favorite. He's now a plus 110 underdog. Renato Moicano's taken him over as the minus 140 favorite. Almost a $40 swing for Renato Moicano. A lot of money coming in on him. A lot of people confident on this young prospect. But never count out Jose Aldo. 27-4, number 2 ranked featherweight in the world. Fight night bonuses, performance of the night, 4 fight of the nights, 3 knockouts of the night. Yes, he lost a couple fights in a row. They were to Max Holloway. He came back in a first round knockout effort against Jeremy Stevens. Before that, he proved he could still do it after getting knocked out by Conor McGregor. Beating Frankie Edgar. Of course, before that, he was the longest reigning bantamweight in UFC history, all the way back to WEC. This guy didn't lose for 10 years. Still only 32 years old. I think Jose Aldo's got enough to turn the clock back one more night, and I think Jose Aldo wins this one by a third round knockout in front of his Brazilian crowd. By the way, Jose Aldo said he wants to fight 3 times this year, all in Brazil, and then retire. Good for him. Links down below. Highlights of the Jose Aldo versus Cub Swanson fight, the Renato Moicano fight, the Johnny Walker versus Khalil Roundtree Jr. fight. And down in the description, you're going to find a link to the entire fight. Their first fight, Rafael Assuncao versus Marlon Moraes. This is a rematch. The first time coming in, Marlon Moraes was a minus 230 underdog. Rafael Assuncao won it by split decision. A lot of people felt it could have went either way. I actually scored it for Marlon Moraes. I thought he convincingly won the first and the third round. And as you can see here, Marlon Moraes is now sitting at some books about the same favorite that he was in that first fight. Some wild swings here, though. This is very unusual. You have minus 235 from Bovado, and then minus 190, minus 185. So some of these other sites may not have updated. But the important thing is even coming off of losing the first fight, Marlon is a 2-1 favorite coming into this one. Let's first look at Rafael Assuncao. Performance of the night, fight of the night bonus, number 3 bantamweight in the world. The guy has been on fire since losing unanimous decision to champ TJ Dillashaw. Beat Aljamain Sterling, of course Maurice, like we're talking about, Matthew Lopez and Rob Font before losing to TJ Dillashaw. He'd won 7 in a row, including a victory against TJ Dillashaw. So he is one of the few fighters to beat TJ Dillashaw. Now 1-1 against him. Also impressive victory over Pedro Munhoz in there. This guy is not going to lay down for anybody. And no surprise, he is in the main event of this ESPN Plus 2 card. Marlon Magic Moraes. 2 performances of the night. So why is this guy still a favorite after losing the first fight to Raphael? After that, he beat John Dodson, Aljamain Sterling, and Jimmy Rivera all in succession. Aljamain Sterling and Jimmy Rivera, both first-round knockouts, both performances of the night. This guy at 21-5, number 4 bantamweight in the world, came in highly touted in the UFC. I actually think it goes the other way on this one. I expect another close back and forth battle, but this time I think Maurice gets the decision. I think he's going to win a unanimous decision this time. I don't think he's going to leave it as close as the first time. This is 5 rounds. I want to know what you guys think, though. Who do you think won the first fight? If you haven't watched it, like I said, I will leave the link in the description for the first Assuncao versus Moraes fight. Also fights with Jose Aldo, Renato Moicano, and Johnny Walker. Outside of that, I want to know, what do you guys think about my predictions? Who do you think will win these? Are you excited about ESPN Plus? $5 a month. We get to watch all these 13 fights on Super Bowl Saturday. And for those of you that don't know yet, I'm just going to throw it out there real quickly. Fights with Friends is your home for Super Bowl Sunday companion. And as far as I know, the only football companion on Super Bowl Sunday that will be doing football trivia. MMA trivia is something that we regularly do on here. But please give me a like. Give me a subscribe if you're new here, if you would. But I'm really curious what you guys think about these matchups. As always, I love you. I respect you. And I'll see your fine asses later.